Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the iDMC and to the Digital-Motorsports YouTube channel. We're back for the TCR Cup, and we are here at Imola for the second round of the championship. A fantastic opener just a week ago, straight back at it once again, coming from Donington right across to Italy, where we compete at the Imola circuit, which of course is hosted F1 not too long ago, but now we've got the touring cars to send around this brilliant circuit, and if practice is anything to go by, it's going to be super close. My name's Jack, and as always, Kevin Galvin is alongside me in the commentary box. Kevin, of course, last week was brilliant, it was super close, but we had some clear front runners in the form of Naveed Hussain and Jason Cooper.
A cow bison hybrid is called a beefalo, Jack. Tony Stack told me to tell you that, so I thought I'd get it out of the way early. But yes, last week at Donington was a superb race on a completely separate note. Really good stuff, and I was really impressed by Naveed Hussain in that, especially the second race, to take it, having started where he was. From the having finished second behind Jason in the initial race, probably disappointed to not got past him. Naveed had absolutely superb performance in the second one, winning that one. And also, of course, let us not forget the Pro-Am standings as well. A superb double race there for Sean McMahon. So a brilliant opening round at Donington. A very different track here at Imola. Obviously, the one long straight, really good opportunity to pass, but a lot of these corners are single line. The other thing I suppose drivers were told in the driver's briefing was to watch out for those sausage curves as well. So will be interesting, particularly first lap, as the cars barrel down into the Tamburello curves, to see what drivers will get lucky and what drivers will get unlucky over the course of the opening couple of laps.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're going to need to start a segment there, Kevin. Useless facts with Kevin every week on stream. That's brilliant. Thanks, Tony, for that one.
Yeah, if Tony can just keep sending in those in for every week, it'd be great. You just start it every single week with one. I mean, last week we had Lawrence DeSaz's frightening face in the set of course. This week we have we have this. So next week we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen next week. But we have plenty of racing before then. I hasten that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be another reason to tune in, folks. Learn something new every week at Digital-Motorsports. But we're looking on board with James Holman as he comes across the start-finish line to go a little bit further up the order. As now, of course, this week, of course, we have the returning Jordan Kelly back on the grid, and we also have Josh Malin back on the grid as well. So two former champions on the grid, along with Keith Dempsey, who, of course, is the former champion of these cars just a couple of seasons ago. So Keith Dempsey, at the moment, fastest man in qualifying as round goes Neil Ferrier into the wall. And that's going to cause a bit of damage to the front end of his car. But Keith Dempsey, 54-2. Jason Cooper in second, a 10th off. And then it's James Holman third. Ronan Doherty up in P4. Great stuff from him. He's actually gone faster than Naveed Hussain by a margin of 3/1000ths of a second. Now, of course, on the left-hand side, on the timing tower, you can see the different colours. Of course, we have two classes in this series, the Pro and the Pro-Am. The Pro are denoted with the yellow, and of course the Pro-Am are denoted with the blue. And of course we had our first double winner last week in the Pro-Am being Sean McGovern, so he leads the championship heading into this race. But there is Keith Dempsey, and he's a man on an absolute mission. He's been on a long dry spell of wins, but he's the fastest man in qualifying so far. There's still a ways to go, but I think Keith just might be starting to find his feet again.
Yeah, slightly. I think he's getting slightly more used to these TCR cars, and obviously, Keith with such experience, it means that whatever track you go to, he's going to be on the money straight away, whereas for other guys, it'll probably take them a little bit longer to get used to it. Last week, of course, Donington is kind of a TCR classic track, but when it comes to Imola, you more associate with open wheel stuff, really kind of open wheel racing, Formula Ford, Formula 3000, also a bit of GT stuff, of course. I know the European GT series goes there. But generally, you don't tend to see a huge amount of TCR cars around here. But so for Keith, I think that's a really good advantage, because A lot of these guys, particularly in the officials and in league races, they wouldn't have a massive amount of experience. But Keith's particularly quick. But of course, as is Jason Cooper, extremely quick as well. Surprised to see Naveed Hussain though so far down the standings for the moment. Though I know he's coming in for a hot lap soon.
Absolutely, and of course, we want to send our big congratulations out to Keith as well on the birth of his daughter. So I know he's been a busy man lately, and he's back on the sim to now, and it's going pretty quickly as well. Peter Dempsey, the brother, goes
an even busier man 9 months ago. An even busier man 9 months ago. I hasten. I probably imagine.
Absolutely, but. Back on the pace, nonetheless. Keith Dempsey up in P2, Peter Dempsey third, his brother, and then Nicky Meredith P4. So that's a good showing from turn 3. Josh Malin P5, but the new fastest man at the moment, Jason Cooper, at the top of the standings, and then James Holman, Ronan Doherty, Brian McManus, Naveed Hussain down in 9th, and a good showing from Alex Denning. Now we know Alex is very quick when he gets the track underneath him, so he is going to be right there, but those gaps are so tight. And a little improvement will certainly improve. There's the strength of field for both of these classes. So, of course, within iRacing, there is a rating system that rates your pace, so to speak. So the average for the Pro is 3.2k. So very, very high split in this. And the fastest times you can see split between the Pros and the Pro-Ams, 54.0 and at 55 for the Pro-Ams, and that's currently being led by Ian Malone, who's the fastest Pro-Am at the moment. Jason Cooper going even faster on a 54.056. Here comes Keith Dempsey. Can he go to the top of the standings? Let's see. Is it an improvement? It's not quite an improvement for Keith Dempsey. He's not going to be on pole. James Holman goes to third. Great showing from James today in P3. Peter Dempsey fourth at the moment, but Naveed Hussain down in 9th place. But that's not all. All is not lost as Jordan Kelly goes into P4. There he is returning to the TCRs. And we know that he goes well in these cars as well. He's itching to get back in them, and he's up to 4th as Niall Murray takes an excursion off into the gravel trap. And he now resets. But it's just coming up to the end of qualifying. I think we still have 1 or 2 just to come across the line to finish their laps. Jason Cooper, though, looks like the man who's going to be on pole position. But Keith Dempsey back on the front row, Kevin, and I think he'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I think Keith would be pretty happy with his performance overall at 154. Nobody quite able to get under that 54 barrier for the moment. I'm not sure qualified. There's a few still left to go, so we'll have to wait and see. Very interesting, though, as you were saying, Naveed Hussain not as much on the pace as I think as we were expecting today, but also in the Pro-Am class, Sean McGovern not quite on the pace that we were expecting as well. A few ahead of him in terms of the Pro-Am class. So this is a track where it is difficult to overtake. There are opportunities, of course, and Tosa particularly, you imagine, is a good opportunity through the Ravazzas. Certainly Ravazza 1 is a place that I like overtaking. I actually quite like driving this track, to be honest. A lot of late apexes encourages patience, this track. But it isn't an easy place necessarily to overtake. As I said, a lot of these corners very high aero, only really one line through them. So real test of the kind of the racecraft of these drivers. Sean McGovern in 3rd place in Pro-Am at the moment. So not quite the same difficulty he'll face as Fabrizio Rivera to get towards the top. But for both of those drivers who have done so well in the opening round, a bit of a challenge here. And I think that's good. It's always great to see guys just pushed a little bit outside their comfort zone and have to fight for things a little bit. I think that's why we enjoy this championship so much, is that even the guys who lead the championship, usually you don't win an iDMC without doing a bit of overtaking, a bit of battling along the way.
Absolutely. Here's your grid then for the opening race of the night. 2 races, of course. Second one is reverse grid. Jason Cooper on pole, Keith Dempsey alongside him, James Holman in 3rd, Jordan Kelly, Peter Dempsey, Nicky Meredith, Josh Malin, Ronan Doherty, Brian McManus, and Fabrizio Rivera. Great qualifying up in the top 10. Naveed Hussain 11th on the grid with Alex Denning in 12th, and then further down will be Dan Mould, Rob Moore, Howell Desutautis, and Liam Matthews, Rory O'Shea, and Paul King in 17th and 18th respectively. Niall Murray and Adam Dowling then in 19th and 20th. Peter McCann down in 21st. Richard Lyons in 22nd. Michael Seal on the pole for Pro-Am in 23rd. Sergey Grab in 24th. And Tony Stack 25th. Ian Malone 2nd in Pro-Am. Neil Ferrier and Sean McGovern. There he is, the championship leader in the Pro-Am. He's 3rd in class. Then Owen Murray, Evan Naylor, Simon Wall, and Enda Farrell in 31st and 32nd. Then Victor Cullen and Dave Collier down the order just a little bit there. Krzysztof van Keteshvar and Stuart Brereton. And then we have Mark Birney and Aaron Dalton. And then Jason Smith and Evan Walsh, who disconnected, unfortunately, from qualifying. And then we have Brendan Stone, Ronan Fox, and at the back of the grid on 43rd place is Johnny McMullen. So 43 cars on the grid for Imola tonight. And we're just waiting for just a couple more drivers ready up. And we go to the grid. The second race of the evening, of course, is a reverse grid. Top 15 are inverted. And the lights are about to come on here at Imola for the first race of the evening. Here they come. And we are away for the first race of the night. Good start from Jason Cooper. Not a great one from Keith Dempsey. Great one from Jordan Kelly from the third row of the grid. And you see Keith immediately shuts off his teammate James Holman, who runs in behind him, is headed towards turn. They're nearly 4 abreast down towards turn 1. But it's Dempsey in front. Cooper has a massive lead towards turn number 1. A little bit of contact going through turn 1. Sideways action between a couple of the turn 3 cars as they come around turn 2. It's Dempsey, then Holman, then Peter Dempsey again. Jordan Kelly in 5th. Josh Malin slots into 6th place. Meredith McManus, Rivera and Hussein, who moves up to 10th place. Alex Denning not having a good start. He drops down the order a little bit. And now we look further down. There is Tony Stack, who's at the back of the pro field. But Jason Cooper, an absolutely brilliant start. He's already a second in front as they come through the hairpins once again. And Naveed Hussein, he's making up places already. 2 by 2 by 2. We look at nearly 3 abreast as they head up the hill. But Cooper leads, Dempsey second, Holman third, Peter Dempsey in fourth. Bit of side-by-side action in the background between that'll be Dan Mould, Rivera and Hussein. And they sort themselves out down the order as we see. Rory O'Shea's had to take to the off. A bit sideways on the grass, down towards the double right-hander. Cooper, Dempsey and Holman, your top 3. And Cooper, I mean, that's probably one of the best starts we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, great start by Jason Cooper. Like we saw in the first race again in Donington, qualified first and just got a great start. Conversely, a horrible start by Ronan Doherty. Found himself from 8th down to 12th before he'd ever hit the first curb. A lot of battling, but really a superb work by these guys. I know I've put the kibosh on now, but superb work by these guys not to really have, as Peter Dempsey has a moment earlier on. Largely though, very clean racing by all of these guys as they were heading through the opening lap. And on this circuit where it's so tight, that's quite impressive. But Jason Cooper now already into a very strong lead, 8 tenths ahead of Keith Dempsey. He'll be very pleased with his start thus far.
It's getting a bit feisty down here. Naveed Hussein's on a bit of a flyer once again. Flying start from him. He's up the inside, or looking at least on Nicky Meredith. He can't quite get through. Rivera makes it through on Dan Moult. But we just saw a brief glimpse of it. There's a Fiore racing car with bumpers flying off, and it's really in a lot of trouble. But it's still running fine, so it's still just embroiled in its own battle. Now Keith Dempsey on the charge. He's reeling Jason Cooper back in. That gap comes down to 0.6 of a second right now, and Keith will also be in the draft of the car in front as well, which is also quite powerful. It will drag you along, keep you in there. So it is Keith Dempsey, then James Holman. Josh Malin moves up to 4th. That was the battle we were kind of having a quick glance at, but Malin's up to 4th, and multiple champions on this grid. It's really something to see. Malin, Kelly and Dempsey, all former champions of this series. And it's really intriguing to see how they're going to face up against each other. Of course, Kelly missing around, and he has a lot of work to do. But the championship standings coming into here, of course, it's Hussein leads the championship on 90 points. Jason Cooper, it's second on 82. No Dave Maguire this week, so he may lose that place. But really close, only 8 points at the top of the standings after one round. But it's Hussein with the advantage, but Jason Cooper looking really good to bring that gap even further down. Quick look at the Pro-Ams. Michael Seal leading Pro-Am at the moment. Owen Murray second. And here comes Victor Cullen. He's had a great getaway, actually, as Victor. He's looking to the outside line of Owen Murray as they come down the hill. And they're going to get side-by-side, door-to-door contact. And Victor manages to keep it in around there. And somehow, just behind Rory O'Shea, really close. Bit of gravel being kicked up by Owen Murray, actually, just in front. As we look back here, this battle of Rivera, who's trying to get himself past Dan Mould here on the outside line. He can't quite get it done. He's trying to get up underneath the cars in front, a little bit of door, getting hit in the rear a little bit by Alex Denning. Brian McManus is the second car in train, sorry, and it's Rivera leading that train. Alex Denning just in behind, and then you have Niall Murray at the back, and door-to-door contact. Denning flies off the road and takes McManus with him in the chicane, and Denning plows into the tyre wall. And unfortunately, I think Brian may have picked up steering damage from that contact that was going in. They're really unlucky. It was tyre-to-tyre contact, and one of them ended up on two wheels. Denning goes in front and collects McManus on the exit of the gravel trap. Well, maybe investigated further into the line by the stewards. But we've had a quick look as well. We have a new leader in the Pro-Am category. Owen Murray takes the lead, so there's been a change there at the head of the Pro-Am field. Owen Murray now leads that. He's got in front. Well, this is actually the battle right here. Pro-Am lead. It's Owen Murray and Michael Seal. Seal's made a mistake somewhere, and Owen Murray now in the lead. But let's see if Michael Seal can get himself through. You got Rory O'Shea who's trying to get through. He's a pro class driver, so he's going to be trying to get through without affecting these guys too much. But coming through the chicane, hopping over those curbs, and it looks like Owen has the advantage for now. But Kevin, an interesting incident in the first corner. Looked like the physics went a little bit mad with the wheel-to-wheel contact, but it looks spectacular nonetheless.
Yeah, it did look spectacular. I feel bad for both Denning and McManus, because really it was just good door-to-door racing. It's all we like to see in these cars. We've seen an incident there earlier between Victor Cullen and Rory O'Shea that was really well done. Victor did really well to hold it going down the hill into the first Ravazza. But it's just disappointing, really. It's one of those, as you say, it's one of those iRacing physics moments where Alex is up on two wheels, and then from there he's just a passenger going through that chicane, that first chicane, and just collects Brian. I'm sure he didn't mean to, and it was fair racing between those two, but both of them now largely out of this race. And you were just talking about the Battle of Pro-Am as well. I actually think that mistake from Michael Seal could have come in the lap previous. Their last laps were 156s each, but the previous lap Owen was about 2 or 3 seconds faster than Michael, which is where I think he must have made up that gap. Michael must have had an off track along there somewhere. It's hard to keep up with so many cars in the grid tonight. And speaking of people making moves and shakes, Jason Smith, he was disconnected, of course, coming into the session. He's actually up 17 places now into 22nd. So these guys are all moving along swiftly. There's still plenty of time left in this race. A good amount of time, good amount of laps to try and get themselves back into the point standings and win what could be some very crucial points by the time we get to the final race.
Yeah, Naveed Hussain just gone up the inside there, Nicky Meredith, and now we have a really interesting fight right here. Is Josh Malin and Jordan Kelly. So these two fought for the title, of course, in the previous season in the Indy Pros, or in the USF 2000, excuse me, and Jordan, he's now chasing after the most recently crowned champion in Digital Motorsports. We're on board with Nicky Meredith, who never seems to have the luck go his way. He's only ever taken one victory in Digital Motorsports. He gets on the gravel through the second Ravazza, but he's taken one victory in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship at Watkins Glen, and since then it's never really been luck his way. But he's up in P7, not too bad. Dan Mulfo's in behind, Niall Murray's in there too. And we see now fast lap of the race at the moment going to James Holman, who lies in third place. Nicky Meredith has to take to the off-road. I think Josh Malin might be off the road as well, who's had to take to the gravel trap. He's just missed his braking point, and you can see Josh Malin down 2 places, and Meredith has to tow back to pit lane. Right as I say that the luck never goes his way. That's a perfect example of it right there. Seems like it could have had a hardware problem there by the looks of it. As it gets, it's getting feisty in Pro-Am right here. Owen Murray have to take to the escape road a little bit. Michael Seal going to go up his inside, but the problem, the contact between the leaders as they come through. They're going to be door to door again, bang down the straight, and there's somehow interlocking as a wheel goes flying off the car of Owen Murray. I believe the front left tire is gone, and Owen Murray has no control over that car right now, and we have that car avoiding action. But again, an intriguing instant there with the Pro-Am lead, and eventually one of the wheels of Owen Murray's car comes flying off the left-hand side, and he is now going to have to either limp back to pit lane or tow back to pit lane. And wow, this has gone from turned a bit crazy all of a sudden, but it's still at the moment Michael Seal leads despite that contact. He's still there in the lead of the Pro-Am, but now he's actually got Victor Cullen in second place, and he's on his tail. There's Victor up behind him, and you can see Victor's up 11 spots, but Jason Smith, you mentioned him, Kevin, he's up 21 places where he started. He now lies 18th.
Yeah, brilliant drive by Jason Smith. Been fortunate there again, the contact between Owen, and I'm not sure who Owen actually had that incident with, but again, iRacing physics, I don't think a wheel would just pop off and fly off randomly. But that section of the course is one where we expected drivers to struggle, and we did expect contact along there. It's a Michael Seal, of course. Sorry, it was the two leaders having contact there, and I suppose Michael would be delighted because he gave up that spot to Owen. I think it was pretty fair racing between the two of them. I think you tend to give a little bit more when it comes to the TCR side of things, but no, it's just disappointing when I suppose you see a good battle between guys, really nothing in it but just that net code issue or that damage model issue that causes that problem. But what a really intriguing battle now we have between Jason Cooper and Keith Dempsey. Keith is just chipping away at Jason's lead all of the time, and now it's down to just 0.4 of a second between them. So really interesting, as Jason's just had an off track as well, so you'll have to keep an eye on that. But really fascinating battle at the front. Jason, this is almost like deja vu. The last week he had Naveed Hussein behind him, and this week it's Keith Dempsey.
It is indeed, and Jordan Kelly now, he's had a problem, he's dropping down the order, so there's been mistake-ridden this race from multiple people. There's Jordan going slowly on the exit up towards the slow chicane in the middle sector. He's dropped down to P7 now, so not a terminal problem, but down to P7 from P4, so not good from his perspective. There is Victor Cullen, just lost the position to Tony Stack, who's in the Pro Championship, of course. Tony got promoted up to Pro after somebody pulled out of the Pro, so he was actually the fastest man, I believe, in the Pro-Am category pre-qualifying, and then he ended up being in the Pro categories. We see a little fight going on here. Liam Matthews and Neil Ferrier, I think that is behind Neil, of course, sporting a special livery this week on his roof. You might see Jason DePasquale, we tragically lost in the Moto3 race, of course, and he's got that special livery for him this week, and not did a bad job this week either, is Neil Ferrier. But up at the front, Jason Cooper now, he's opened it out slightly again to 0.7 of a second, and Jason just seems to be managing this very nicely out front, and he's on course to be the first pro driver to go with 2 wins. Of course, it took us a while in the ELSF 2000 series to get somebody to win twice in the series. So Jason is really on the pace.
Yeah, really on the pace. Particularly, I was expecting it to be really close because I know a lot of the guys that would have, like driven in the junior categories, the kind of Janetta stuff, even that Josh Malin drives, isn't that dissimilar to TCR. So I thought a lot of guys would be very much on the pace. It'd be really interesting to see how those guys would use that real world experience. Just a bit of a shout out in the YouTube comments as well. We have David Hussein in 4th, of course. Dan Molden 6th and Paul King in 9th. They're all Ignium Motorsport drivers. They're getting a shout out from a few of their fans and a few VRA fans as well. Nice to see people kind of chiming in as supporters of the teams, not just of the individual drivers. So that's good to see. And do remember, if you're interested in commenting on YouTube or keeping an eye in the comments, we'll be firing them out over the course of the race. Any interesting facts, doesn't necessarily have to be Buffalo based facts, but if they are, we will still read them out.
We're heading on to lap number 8 in just a moment's time. Jason Cooper coming down the front straight, so just about 3 laps to go across the line, and then we'll take the checkered for this one. But yeah, of course, Josh Malin, of course, he drove Janettas. He was a champion in those, and now he's moving up to Porsche Carrera Cup, so a big jump for him, but a really good one nonetheless, as we see Fabrizio Rivera going to make the move on Paul King. Moves up to P9, of course a home race for Fabrizio, and he is representing Italy up there in the top 10, up to P9. Adam Dowling in the VRA colours just behind in P11, and he might be able to get himself in the top 10. Adam on a good return to the series as well, as we head down towards the chicane, and VRA having plenty of representation on the grid this season as well. Jason Cooper out front at the moment. Keith Dempsey in the turn 3 colours just behind. And very familiar livery on that Keith Dempsey car. If you've watched the previous TCR Championship, you'll know that luminous yellow front on the front of that turn 3 car very, very well. And he's now chasing after Jason Cooper, who was a winner in that series as well. After there was contact in the last corner at Alton Park between the man that's behind him, Keith Dempsey, and Craig Breen, who was going for the reverse grid win. And Jason Cooper managed a double overtake on the last lap in the last corner, and he took that victory. But there's Michael Seal. He's leading the Pro-Am at the moment. Victor Cullen P2 and Simon Wall 3. Ian Malone, the pole sitter, is down to P4 in class. But Michael Seal is just in front of Tony Stack right now. They're kind of changing places little by little. Back to
Jack, sorry, I'm gonna just because we were on that thread of TCR car, or we were on that thread of testing, of course, with Josh Malin testing the Carrera Cup last week, and on the thread of TCR cars. I just want to give a quick shout out as well to Nicole Drought, who just has been given a TCR test. She was kind of in and around the British Touring Car Championship last year. And kind of sizing things out. Wasn't driving, but she secured herself a test in a TCR Cup car, or a TCR car, should I say, which will be a fantastic opportunity for her. And also, we were speaking about Adam Dowling earlier. Adam's absolutely flying at the moment. Partially, I'm gonna speak on his behalf and presumptuously say that the fact that Adam just got a new SIM cube from Digital-Motorsports.com can't have helped him, or can't have, oh my god, I'm after completely doing this up. It can't have harmed him either, given the fact that he's currently in 11th place.
No, absolutely not. And if you'd like to hear yourself what Adam's doing, of course, it is certainly helping Adam. He's certainly on the fringes of the top 10. And if you'd like to get your hands on one of them, you can check out Digital-Motorsports.com and see if you can pick yourself up one as well. But we are as well, if you're looking for a set of pedals, we're giving a set away. Of course, a set of SimTag pedals, and we'll give you more information about that after the first race of the night during the warm-up. But it's a fantastic prize, and probably the best pedals you can get on the market. But Keith Dempsey is closing just a bit closer to the back of Jason Cooper. He's pushing the limits of the track each time. It'll be the last lap this time by, and we'll see if he can make his way up into the lead. And Naveed Hussain has recovered very well. He's 4th at the moment, getting past Josh Malin, but Josh is not letting him go in P5. So really intriguing stuff up and down the order. But Jason Cooper, he's led every single lap of the race so far, and he's about to take the white flag and take us across for one more lap. There is Michael Seal, who's still leading the Pro-Am. He's been pretty comfortable after the first couple of laps, and once he got in the lead, he's very much stayed there. And despite the contact with Owen Murray, he's managed to hang on. Fastest lap of the race currently going to Jordan Kelly. Here's Josh Malin trying to get past Naveed Hussain outside line for the first chicane. Can he outbrake him into there? He's thinking about it with Naveed. Very nice defense on the inside line, and he has to stay behind. So great fighting from these two. Naveed leading the TCR Championship at the moment. We're back on board with Keith Dempsey. Look how close he is now, putting Jason Cooper under pressure. He gets all the gravel on the exit of the chicane. He's trying to get himself a bit closer, but it's very hard to do that. As Josh Malin, he's got the move done on Naveed Hussain in the chicane, it seems, and he moved back up to P4. But I wonder, has Keith run out of chances here? There's not a hell of a lot of place to overtake in these TCRs around here, and you've really got to be committed if you're going to go for it. But he's bringing the gap down. He's definitely pushing him on here into the right-hander. At the bottom of the hill, flicks it back again. He's getting right up underneath the rear wing of Jason Cooper down towards the chicane. They go again, and they have been told to watch those sausage curbs. They really fling the car around. You'll see them abusing them through this chicane, hopping over the right and over the left. Naveed Hussain gets Josh Malin back again with his double moves going on in the background there, but we're going to keep our eyes on this for just a second as we see if Keith Dempsey can get this done. I don't know if he's going to have enough. He needs a mistake from Jason Cooper in these last two corners to try and secure himself a win in the opening race of the night. Through the left-hander he goes. It seems like he's backed off actually to let Jason, he's actually waiting up it seems, or has got a slowdown on the exit of the chicane, and I'd wager it's a slowdown for Keith Dempsey. So Jason Cooper, he's done it twice twice this season now. He's won the opening race of the night in Donington. He does it in Imola. He finishes in the lead and wins race 1. Keith Dempsey second, James Holman third. There's a massive scrap going on in the background. Look at this. The Vita St. P4 side by side with the 2 champions, Malin and Kelly. Malin gets 5th. Jordan Kelly gets 6th. Dan Mould gets 7th. Niall Murray will finish in 8th place. Fabrizio Rivera in 9th. Paul King in 10th. In 11th. And then Yatautis, Lyons, Matthews, Ferrier, Moore and Jason Smith. An absolute hat tip to Jason Smith. He's made up the most places in this race. I think it's somewhere in the region of 25 and he finishes in 17th place. And Michael Seal takes his first win of his Pro-Am campaign. He wins the Pro-Am category. Ian Malone will finish in 3rd place. He's trying to fend off the car behind him, of course, but he takes that of course, he takes the win, does Michael Seal. Peter Dempsey, disappointing. He's right up at the top earlier on, and he ends up down in 27th place. Brian McManus, after the contact with Alex Denning, he's down in 29 places. Some big names down in the order. They'll be starting where they finished as well, but just going to have a quick check to see, of course, the top 15 are inverted. We'll check that after the results come up for us. But yeah, interesting stuff. But Jason Cooper, he's gone back-to-back in race 1s, and he's looking pretty handy behind the wheel of that.
Yeah, and Jason, really good race for Jason, like particularly given the fact that there's a couple of guys around him now. I know that obviously that scrap with Jordan and Josh sees them both finish reasonably high, but when you see Naveed finishing 4th, there's a big gap between the amount of points you get for 1st and the amount of points you get for 4th. And Jason, given the fact that Naveed was really his biggest challenger last week, he'll be extremely happy to have gotten that one over the line. Does mean, of course, he's 4 places behind Naveed. I'd love to see those guys battling again. But in the Pro-Am category, a huge surprise that Sean McGovern retired out of the race, didn't finish, and will find himself way back now down the standings for the 2nd race of this evening. So a massive jump in terms of the Pro-Am standings. We'll see now what Sean can do second time around, if he can get himself back and hold on to that 1st place in the championship with a good result in the feature race. But for, as you say, Jason Smith, a superb showing by him, up 22 places. Not quite high enough to take pole for the 2nd race. That'll be Neil Ferrier to take from Liam Matthews and then Richard Lyons. But a lot of quick guys there, as we say, that reverse grid race. Normally the cream rises to the top on a track like this, especially at the start where there's so much carnage. I think for guys it'll be a question of literally just trying to survive the first couple of laps, and then from there trying to work out a strategy. Also, we were speaking about, we love TCR cars. I think you myself, Jack, we both kind of have a soft spot for them. And seeing Michael Seal cross the line first with his wing mirror hanging off the side is just one of those sights you don't get to see in open wheel racing. It's one of those things with TCR cars. They're just built for punishment. So for Michael to cross over in his first race, that's a great result for him. Simon Wall in 2nd, Liam Malone 3rd. The Pro-Am stuff is really, really interesting. And let's remember, as the guys in Digital Motorsports have reminded us, a set of SimTag pedals if you nominate your driver of the day. So do go in the comments to nominate your driver of the day. Probably a bit early yet, but tell us who you think your driver of the day is ahead of this 2nd race at Imola.
Of course, and there's a serious set of pedals, hydraulic pedals we've got up for grabs. Just tell us your driver of the day in the comments, and well, maybe wait till after race 2, as Kevin said. But I want to get a quick mention to all our partners and sponsors for this series. Of course, SimTag, who are providing the prize for you guys at home, and we also have SimiCube, who are back on board for this season as well. And we also have Grid Engineering, the new guys on board for this season. A Canadian company specialised in dashes, wheels, and button boxes. Make sure to give those guys a look. And we're also looking forward to seeing what is going to happen in race number 2. Also to Motorsport Ireland for their generous support of the series as well. And Sureway, who have been a long-time supporter of the series as well. So many thanks to them as we get ready to go for the 2nd race of the night. Inverted top 15 from race 1. So that means Neil Ferrier will have the pole for race number 2 alongside Liam Matthews, and that's a grid very reminiscent of last season's Pro-Am series. Liam and Neil, of course, were both in the Pro-Am US F2000 series just a couple of weeks ago, and there he is on pole for this race. Liam Matthews alongside him. Richard Lyons in third, Harold Yatautas in P4, Adam Dowling on his new Cube in P5, Paul King, Rivera, Murray, Mould and Kelly, and then it'll be Josh Malin. Hussein, who starts in front of Jason Cooper, which would be a blessing for him, and then it'll be the guys who finished in third, second and first. It'll be James Holman in 13th, and then after that it'll be Keith Dempsey, and then in 15th place it'll be Jason Cooper. So Jason will be starting from 15th on the grid. So looking forward to seeing how this is going to go. Everybody looks like they're gridded up and ready to go. We're waiting for just Liam Matthews. I think he's just popping onto the grid there on the left-hand side. We're waiting for the lights to come on. They have 2 minutes to get on the grid. They're already there. The lights on the gantry are about to illuminate in front of the drivers. Here we go for the feature race. And we are away for race 2. Good start for Neil Ferrier, good start for Liam Matthews, good start from the second row of the grid as well as we go on board. Richard Lyons already up the inside of Liam Matthews, down towards turn number 1. Will he be brave on the brakes, trying to take this nearly 3 abreast into turn 1 as into second goes Liam Matthews, gets that position back again. They go side by side through turn number 1 for the first time, and it's all clean from these guys so far to keep it very sensible through turn 1. Neil Ferrier, he's got a 7/10 of a second lead already coming out of turn 1, side by side with Hussein. Look at him around the outside into P6. He's a fast starter, Naveed Hussein, and he's already up 3-4 places. He goes a bit wide, and Dan Mull might be able to get him back. Adam Dowling slots through on Dan Mull as they go through the hairpin for the first time. There's Yatautas going up the inside of Richard Lyons, and he goes up the order just a little bit as Keith Dempsey off the road. He's on the grass, and he rejoins into the middle of the Pro-Am field, and not a good start for him. But once again, Naveed Hussein, the absolute flyer, he's up to P6 already. Josh Malin up to P10, James Holman P11, but there's Jason Cooper's actually lost places off the start, and he's dropping down there, down in P20. So Naveed Hussein, he's done this 2 weeks in a row, and he's about to try and get past Paul King into the chicane as they come down into the breakers. He's looking to the inside, looks to the outside, but can't quite find a way through. But it's Neil Ferrier with a 1.2 second lead right now. He needs to build that gap as quickly as he can. And as we go back to the Pro-Am guys for a moment, Ian Malone leads that one, by the way. Michael Seelan second in that class as they hop across the curbs, and you'll be able to see them as they streak past. There's McCann and Dempsey down the order, way out of position. But Neil Ferrier, he's now putting the hammer down, getting away from the guys behind. But what is it about Naveed Hussein in his start? He absolutely flew off the line, 11th up to 6th in a single lap.
Yeah, unbelievable start by Naveed Hussein, and we were saying how this is going to be a difficult place to overtake, and then Naveed makes 6 places in half a lap. So I think he's thrown that theory completely out of the water, and I would imagine his teammate Paul King, who he's just passed there now, was looking at his mirror and saying, seriously, is he already here? Like, this is a joke. And a huge start, given the fact that Jason Cooper, now he's recovered back up to 16th, but a really bad start by Jason. He obviously must have had an issue earlier on in the lap. He dropped a few places, as did Keith Dempsey, who dropped down like a stone through the field there for a while, but he's recovered a small bit. But really, it's a case of recovery drives now for a lot of these guys as they try and hunt down. And even Naveed's now taking another place. He's up 8 places into 4th position as Liam Matthews makes a mistake and goes down a few places. But Naveed now into 4th from where he was is an incredible achievement. And with so much time left in this race, he has to into 3rd now. He has to be your tip for to win this race and to make it 2 wins out of 4.
Will it make it the exact same result as a week ago if Naveed keeps up this up? As Yatautas makes a mistake, that's 2nd for Naveed Hussein immediately. So it's all coming true. Neil Ferrier now 2.4 seconds up the road. Richard Lyons is trying to stick with him as much as he can, but Naveed Hussein, surely now he's got enough time to get after him now. Ferrier, Hussein, Lyons, King, Mould, Yatautas, Rivera, Matthews and Malin and Holman are your top 10. Jason Cooper down in 16th will make that 17th, and Keith Dempsey down in 19th place. big moment for Naveed Hussain to hold on to his championship lead. This is what gets you championships. Consistency in this field, and his ability to get through the field is phenomenal on the first lap. Such confidence in the car and the braking. As we stick with Niall Murray now, you've got just got in front of Robert Moore, and he's chasing after Adam Dowling, who's in front of him. Adam jumping down the orders just a tiny bit. Ferrier with the fastest lap, which is taken away immediately by Naveed Hussain, half a second quicker than him on that lap alone. There's the fight for the lead of the Pro-Am. You got Simon Wall, Michael Seal going side by side with there as they come down towards turn number 1. Simon Wall trying to defend this position off. You got Michael Seal up the inside into turn number 1. He takes the Pro-Am lead. You've also got Ian Malone who's trying to get through there. Alex Denning's getting round him at the same time, but this is the Pro-Am lead as they try to get past McCann, who's out of the way for them here. But Michael Seal versus Simon Wall is the battle for the Pro-Am lead as they come through, and Denning is trying to get his way through without hindering them too much. A little wiggle from Seal, outside line for Simon Wall, this time 3 wide. Denning trying to find some space. He has to back out of it, doesn't want to get involved in the lead battle. We've got two VRA cars off, Adam Dowling and Jordan Kelly both off as they come up the hill, and look at all these guys coming up the hill. Adam Dowling trying to get out of the way of these guys, but Michael Seal, Simon Wall, Denning, then Dowling and McCann, McManus are all in this one. So a big load of VRA cars all together. Look at them all there. The 3 of them all together down the hill is trying to fight for position. No team orders going on here. They're probably frantically going at each other. Move out of my way, lads, as Adam Dowling goes out of the way. We're on board now with McManus. That's McCann in front of him. Behind him is Roland Doherty switching position, and this may be a change of position there as indeed it eventually sorts itself out, but getting a bit hectic between the VRA guys there.
Very hectic indeed, and yeah, a lot of there's an awful lot of team orders, non-team orders going on. We saw Paul King slightly make way for Naveed Hussain, who's obviously Paul King is Naveed's team boss in Ignium, and then we saw the VRA guys who just went hell for leather and didn't give a rat's backside as to team orders, which is great to see as well. Just as you were speaking there, Jack, I'm just flicking up and down my timesheets, and I'm trying to see if I can see the name Jason Cooper, but it doesn't seem to be striking out at me. I'm just wondering what's happened to Jason. He's now 18 places. I've just spotted him down out to 33rd, and he seems to have disconnected as well. He's dropping down. Jason says he dropped into pit lane is Jason, so not exactly sure what happened there for Jason, but this is a huge result for Naveed Hussain in the terms of the championship, or in terms of at least the early championship running, as Richard Lyons has had a bad start as well. He's down 11 places now, down to 14th, but Naveed now takes the lead of the race. Naveed Hussain, it's only taken him 4 laps. It's incredible, Naveed Hussain, and with a fastest lap of a 1:54.3 as well. What a brilliant start for Naveed Hussain. Oh, there's a bit of contact there as I was speaking, sorry, which I missed out on, Jack, but what a brilliant start for Naveed Hussain.
This man, I mean, consistency wins you championships. 11 places up from where he started, and he's taken the lead over just 4 laps. And here we go now. Paul King and Harold Isitaut is battling for P4. Rivera's up a good few places as well. This is one of the best showings from Rivera we've seen all season. James Holman up to P7. Great start from James as well. Remember, he started next to Naveed on the grid, or a row in front of him, so he's not done too bad to get himself up this far as well. P6 for him, P7, sorry, for him, as they come down the hill. Keith Dempsey recovering very nicely. P11 he's up to now. Down the hill they go. Simon Wall leads Pro-Am, and that's a really intriguing fight. Those top 3 are absolutely nose to tail for the Pro-Am win, as now Hussain tries to get away from Ferry. He's opened the gap by half a second, and here it comes now. Rivera trying to get past Yatautas. I don't think he's going to have quite enough of a run, and we're going to go back to the Pro-Am guys for a second, and we saw Alex Denning momentarily, and he's now the biggest gainer, 21 places in 5 laps. So Naveed's looked impressive, Kevin, but Alex Denning's done 21 in 5 laps.
Yeah, a great result for Alex. Now, that is kind of asterisks to it, the fact that obviously Alex's race has made his way up through the Pro-Am. A lot of the Pro-Am guys, more so than the Pro guys. I think Naveed's achievement to make 10 places in 4 laps is just astonishing around this place. But look, we'll have plenty of time to talk about him later on. And also up making huge moves is Nicky Meredith. He's up 21 places into 20th after that incident in the opening race. But a couple of movers and shakers. Jason Smith up 8 places as well. We have Dan Mould, of course, into 3rd place from 9th, where he started. Ronan Doherty up 13 places. Brian McManus up 15 places. So a lot of guys making good moves. But really, the story of the race is so far is not only Owen Murray disconnecting in the Pro-Am category, but also the issues that Jason Cooper has had in the Pro category, and such a massive change we've had in terms of Pro-Am. There's been huge changes between leaders, but in Pro category, Naveed has just been outstanding. I mean, for a guy to be out of the series and to return to the iDMC and to put in a performance like this, it is, you have to take your hats off to him. There's nothing more could be said. It was just a brilliant as there was a bit of contact there, Victor Cullen, sorry, which I missed earlier on. I'm on a slight delay here, but what a brilliant drive on Naveed Hussain.
Yeah, it really is. Victor Cullen just getting caught up with Adam Dowling. We're on board with Nicky Meredith, who's trying to make it 22 places gain. He's trying to get in front of Victor Cullen here. Come around the left-hander before they come across the start-finish line. And you can see Nicky's been in the wars as well. That the rear end of that car has certainly, been in the wars. He's certainly had some contact in the rear. He's going to make it 22 places up. Go back to the battle for second. Dan Mould up the inside of Ferrier. There he goes up to P2 for Dan Mould. So the newcomer of the series, he's up to second in the feature race. Good job from him. But now we go back. Now Rivera trying to make it a top 5 finish around the outside of the hairpin. Can he do it? He's going to keep the power in, but he's going to watch out for Holman on his inside line. Up towards the left-hander now, trying to find some space, but they have to go back into formation once again as Yatautas hangs on in that 5th place. Rivera at home in Italy in P6. Holman behind him in P7. And they drop down the hill for the 6th time tonight. And they hold position for now, but really tight. Holman trying to make up for lost ground. And there is, you just see him tucked in behind the car of Richard Lyons. That's Naveed Hussain, race leader, and who started down in 12th place up to the lead. Lyons gets out of his way. There's Rivera, and that's that big old scrap that's going on there. Keith Dempsey almost on the fringe of the top 10 after that terrible start. And Brian McManus following Alex Denning is also up 15 places. Adam Dowling, there he is. He's been chased by Nicky Meredith, up 22 places from where he was. Stuart Brereton in the Pro-Am category. Then you've got Brendan Stone in 24th overall. Then you've got the guys Roland Fox and Ketishvar down there. They're scrapping for place in Pro-Am. And then there he is, Jason Cooper. Look at that, 31st on the timing tower. He limped back to pit lane with a missing front end on that car. And now all the way down to 31st. It's going to be a big, huge loss in the championship. Peter Dempsey as well. Absolutely shocker of a day for Peter. And big drop down the order from Michael Steele as well. Was leading Pro-Am, but now he's dropped down there. And Jordan Kelly, what a disastrous return to the iDMC TCR, is now battling again. That's Simon Wall with Adam Dowling. They're not fighting for in-class position. So Simon is second in Pro-Am. Up the road, Ian Malone is the leader of that one. And Nicky Meredith trying to make his way through, trying to make it 23 places gained in this race. And he's on the outside line of Simon now. He's up 23 places from where he started this race. So really nice job from Nicky getting after Adam Dowling. Now that is for a class position. That's for the Pro class. And there is Naveed, 2.8 seconds now, nearly 3 seconds ahead. And he's clinical out the front now, just banging in the lap times, and he's letting the guys behind fight it out because he's got 3 seconds, but then you've got a big fight for 5th, 6th, 7th, and they're just costing themselves time by battling. Second place are battling as well, Mould and Ferrier, and Paul King's dragged himself into that one as well. So Naveed's in the perfect position right now that everybody behind him is going to be battling each other. He's going to win this race by quite a substantial margin, it seems.
Yeah, it is a long way, and we're gonna have plenty of superlatives from Naveed come the end of the race. A 3.2 second gap now. A couple of close gaps though, particularly 5th and 6th. Paul King holding off Harlas Yotautas. and Fabrizio Rivera, as you say, the homeboy, and James Holman now putting pressure on him as well. So really close racing there for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th as we head into the midpoint of this feature race. But Jack, one of the things I wanted to I suppose ask you, because we've just seen a few comments about it on YouTube, is kind of some of the excessive, or what people feel is excessive flashing over the course of the race. Does that put you off? Like when you're driving, it's just an interesting conversation, I think, just the general sense of flashing. It's something that really annoys me. I think it's unnecessary unless you're doing it for a class, or unless you have a faster class car. I don't like guys flashing to intentionally distract guys. Like, what is your feeling on that whole flashing issue?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head right there. If it's in a race like this, where every car is in the same category, and you're battling for on-track position, there is absolutely no need to be constantly flashing guys on the track. Fair enough if it's a multi-class race, an LMP2, for example, at night, absolutely use the lights just to let people know. But when you're in an on-track battle like this, with the racing is that close, there's just no need for it. This race, I think what we've seen there is with Simon Wall's car is that I don't know if his light button is stuck on or something, but I'm sure he's not got his button held over, or his finger held over the flash button constantly throughout this race. That would be, I think, a little bit uncomfortable for him. But yeah, there is a debate over it. There's no rule against it, but I think it's just kind of, I suppose, gentleman's agreement that just don't excessively flash, because it is very distracting if you're looking in the mirror trying to work out where somebody is. You just have these lights constantly at the back of your mind. There's a big send up the inside from Holman on Rivera. Rivera leaves in the room through Avatsa, and Holman is through up the inside to P6 as they come through the chicane up towards turn number 1. It's really close between all those guys. Paul King now lies 4th. Yatautas 5th. Holman 6th, but Rivera's going to come right back at him. Is he down towards turn 1? Getting in the toe, and he's going to move where? He's going to give him a little bump. He's going to move to his outside right at the last moment, but backs out of it to not go for it around the outside, but really, really tight. Up to the first corner, Rivera sits behind James Holman through turns 1, 2 and 3. Gap up front now, 3.3 seconds. Ferrier losing touch with Dan Mould as well. He's falling into the clutches of Paul King. Harold Yatautas. Holman is in there too. Rivera. Rob Moore is now latched on the back of this as well. He's joined up on the back of the train on the back of Rivera. A good job from Rob Moore. He goes a little bit deep into the chicane but sorts it out. We're on board with him right now as he chases after Fabrizio Rivera in the car in front of him. It's Naveed is just having a relaxing drive out front. 3.5 seconds he's got to the car behind. He's got free track in front of him, basically free track behind him. I think the absolute ideal scenario.
Yeah, absolutely ideal, and really a scenario which he's cultivated himself. Just generally on that point, we talk about Nicky having bad luck, and sometimes it is bad. It is genuinely bad luck, and a guy just goes in a bad run. But I think you're talking a lot of sport about making your own luck, and I do feel in racing generally, but particularly in sim racing, you make your own luck. You make those right decisions. You make sure you don't put your car in those positions where you're likely to bring on bad luck, if you know what I mean. You want to make sure that obviously you're driving on the edge, but you want to make sure you're giving yourself enough clearance with cars around you that you don't get caught up and stuff. And I think that's probably that is where you earn your luck when you choose your, as Keith Dempsey makes a move there on Rory O'Shea. He's into 10th place now, up 4 places. But I think you make your own luck, and it's about how you position your car. It's about how you how you decide to take driving into potential incidents or backing off. And I think that's just different driver personalities, different driver styles. That was a brilliant move. Speaking of Nicky, down the inside there of Ian Malone. But I think for Nicky, sometimes it is just generally bad luck. You can just get unlucky. And this isn't a slight on Nicky at all, but for sometimes you hear guys being caught up in incidents and you kind of wonder, well, if you had just taken that extra millisecond to just give yourself a little bit more space, would you have found yourself in the same position?
Yeah, as we look at this really intriguing fight now, Holman with a lovely overtake. Yatautas, oh, there's going to be neck code in the back, unfortunately for Yatautas. And certainly from our end, definitely looked like a netcode touch between himself and Fabrizio Rivera, and he rejoins down in P10. As it was even more calls like Rivera and Rob Moore this time, who made a little bit of door banging going into the hairpin, but they managed to sort themselves out and carry on as they continue to scrap for positions. As this is Brendan Stone, Stuart Brereton. They're fighting for a podium in Pro-Am. Brendan Stone on the verge on the inside line, but Brereton hangs on its side. Rivera now just in front of Rob Moore. He's going to go for the outside line into the Ravazzas. Late on the brakes on the outside. Brave stuff from Rob Moore. Rivera's just going to shut the door on him on the outside, and no way through for Rob just yet. But that's allowing Jason Smith, Keith Dempsey, there he is on a great recovery drive. He's in P9, he's about to make it P8 actually, trying to get past Jason Smith here. He's on the outside, got the run, and he's going to have a little bit of side draft to help him out as well. Turn 1, there he is, moving up to P8, and only 1.4 seconds off the back of Rob Moore. Still a good result on for Keith Dempsey. A good day at the office overall, I think. Can be happy with today, with P2.
Oh, sorry, Jack. You kind of slightly broke up. I thought you were leaving a gap there, but yeah, Keith Dempsey, a great recovery drive, particularly given a poor start he had, and for guys like Keith, I suppose, look, it was a very disappointing first round, but they just pick up points, they just chip away all the time, and I think he's quite disappointed given how close he was in qualifying earlier on, not to be up near the front of the grid. But when you see the leader who began in 12th position and now has a 4.2 second gap at the front of the field, it's very, very hard to see, even earlier on this championship. And I don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, but it's very, very hard to see past Naveed for this pro category. But in the Pro-Am, we have Ian Malone leading at the moment from Simon Wall and Victor Cullen. That is going to be a really, really fascinating championship. Sean McGovern, obviously, of course, kind of dominating things in the opening round. But I think this round has shown that Pro-Am category is a lot more open than I think we would have given it credit for to begin with.
Yeah, it was very tight in the Indy Pro 2000. It's definitely tight once again in this early phase of the championship with multiple different winners in that series. And it seems like we're going to get a similar one as well. Ian Malone trying to get his first win in the championship as well as Naveed. It's 4.6 seconds up the road, and Neil Ferrier a second off the back of Dan Moulton. Dan trying to get his first place. Ferrier's off the road now. That'll open an opportunity for Paul King to get a slipstream down towards turn 1. He's in the tow. Ferrier's going to go defensive line on the inside. Jason Smith into pit lane. And outside line for Paul King now into turn 1. He's going to have to be brave on his counterpart here down towards the first bend. Outside line for Paul King. It's going to be a little bit of contact, and Ferrier hangs on to it. Proper door-to-door racing. James Holman now joins the fray for a podium in this fight. We're on board with James Holman. He's trying to find some space. Got the outside line on Paul King. He's going to get run out of road here. Very tight. But James has to back out of it into the second chicane, and Ferrier's defending for his life right here to hang on to a podium in the feature race. But it seems inevitable that one of them is going to make their way through. A little bit wide from Paul King. Holmes going to get up underneath him. Lovely bit of driving from James Holmes up underneath Paul King here, down towards the left-hander. Paul's going to try get across him here, and he does get across him and shuts the door down towards the left-hander. Almost contact as they come up the hill to sort themselves out. But for now, Ferrier lives to fight another day. James Holman trying to get his way through. Rivera's only a second back. Dempsey's up to 7th, and he's not far off the back of a podium here. I tell you what, it's not over for Keith Dempsey, and that'll be certainly a brilliant drive if he manages to get back up the back of these guys. He actually is on the back of these guys technically. Rivera's there, and then you'll see the flash of yellow. There he is, Keith Dempsey on the back of these guys as they sort themselves out for a third place. There is Keith. Just in front of him is Fabrizio Rivera. We're on board with him now as Holman's got the gap on Paul King. He's got the overlap underneath him down into Ravazza. He's got the inside this time, and Holman's on the verge of a double podium finish today. Up the inside he goes, gets it stopped. Paul King with a lovely switch back underneath, but can't quite get it done. And James Holman moves up to P3, but this is not done just yet. Ferrier still in danger of losing that third place. Holman's moved up to 4th, King into 5th. Rivera in 6th, Dempsey not too far off the back in 7th, Rob Moore still there, P8, but Ferrier with a small bit of breathing space now down towards the first corner, but he's got now the very, very quick car of James Holman right behind him, and we'll see if he can get up to that third place to round up what will be a great day. But a really great recovery for Keith Dempsey after a terrible first lap, down to 20th, and he's made it back up to 7th, and the prospect of a podium is right in front of him.
Yeah, brilliant drive by Keith. Another brilliant drive by James as well, up into 4th position. And look, just superb racing. This is exactly what we said at Donington Park as well. These guys are really skilled drivers. They're really at the top of their field. We have such a strong standard of racing at the iDMC. Really showing off the best of what's in Ireland, and increasingly more the best of what's abroad, as Keith Dempsey overtakes Fabrizio Rivera, and now he's 1.5 seconds off James Holman. So Keith into 5th position as Paul King swaps with Fabrizio as well. Fabrizio now down into 7th, so a bad run for him. The man, as we say, on his home turf is Fabrizio, but now James in 4th position. Neil Ferry now has a nice bit of a gap, has a half a second gap and about a 2-second gap to Keith Dempsey, but James running down that gap all the time. Plenty of time left here, but just look at the battling between these guys. It's just absolutely ferocious racing, but clean racing. There's no dive bombs, there's nothing stupid going on here. There's guys just racing door to door, trying to make sure that they're putting other guys in compromising positions without causing accidents, and it is just brilliant stuff up and down the grid. And although we're going to sing the praises of Naveed Hussain now, almost 5 seconds in the lead, some of the side-to-side battling that's been going on in all 4 races thus far this season has been absolutely superb. This is some of the best racing I think you're likely to see on the iRacing service.
Yeah, it really is. Rob Moore into pit lane, which puts, believe it or not, Alex Denning is in the top 10. What a great drive from Alex Denning to get up to that position. And Brian McManus has stuck with him the whole way as well. Rory O'Shea moves up a place in front into P7 as Roland Doherty, he's fighting away with Brian McManus, who moves into P11 just in front of him. Into that position there, but back with Ferrier, he's got Holman absolutely all over him. He's hanging on really well though, as Neil Ferrier. Great defense drive, but a big send on the outside again from Holman, trying to get up underneath him, but trying to force him away, but Ferrier is not having it. Holman gets the run on the outside line up towards the left-hander on the uphill section. Ferrier has to defend the inside, but he should have a better line into the corner. It's going to have to be bravery from James Holman if he wants to get it done. Outside line for James Holman, hangs it in there. He's got to leave the space, does Ferrier, and he'll have the inside now with James Holman down into the bottom of the hill. He's got the inside, he's got the line. Can he hang on to it? Yes, he can. Holman into 3rd, but all of a sudden now a wild Keith Dempsey has appeared as he comes up the hill. Outside line for Dempsey on Ferrier, trying to get it into the chicane. If he can move to P4 behind Holman, this will be a brilliant job for him. Late on the brakes, around the outside. Ferrier leaves him the room, has to hop the curb. They somehow don't make contact. Brilliant driving from both of them there. It was brave stuff from Dempsey, didn't quite pay off. He has to sit behind. He's cost himself time to Holman now, and Holman should be safe in that 3rd place, barring a mistake, but really clean driving both of them. And a big send up the inside from Dempsey. Classic Dempsey right there up the inside, and he's up to P4. But it's a brilliant job for both of them to keep it both clean to the chicane. So tough to do that, and they managed to come out unscathed, no scratches whatsoever on either of their cars as they come onto the final lap. Naveed Hussain on the final lap of this race to go back-to-back in the feature race. Ian Malone leads the Pro-Am to see if he can hang on for his first win, and you can see now the battle continues. Ferrier trying to get back the 4th place that he just lost, but Dempsey defends the inside and hangs on to it as they see now O'Shea trying to hang Yutautas and Rivera behind him. Which is 1 and 2 contact, a little bit of door banger between Yutautas and Rivera as they come into the left-hander, but they manage to keep it in a straight line. Dempsey in front, Rivera up the inside of Yutautas. Can he get it stopped? Yutautas shuts the door, he goes a bit deep into the second part of the chicane, and that might give an opportunity to Rivera, but it doesn't quite let him through into the hairpin. No way through for him, and Yutautas is on place. But now it's looking a little bit dim for Neil Ferry. He's got Paul King all over his rear, and even if Neil can hang on for a top 5, great result for him nonetheless. We go back to the man in the 007 car who's coming through the last chicane, and absolutely phenomenal. He did it exactly the same way last week. He didn't have the best of it. Well, he had a great race 1, didn't have the best of starts. race 2, but initial start, should I say, but flew through the positions in the opening lap brilliantly, and he's done exactly the same this week. Jason Cooper took the win in the sprint race, but once again, it's going to be Naveed Hussain, championship leader, and he'll open that gap in the championship as he comes across the line to win the feature race at Imola in the iDMC TCR Cup with a dominant display. As we go back now with Dan Mould, inaugural podium for him in the iDMC. James Holman back on the podium. Brilliant drive from Keith Dempsey back to P4. Neil Ferrier, Paul King, Rory O'Shea, Harold Isitautis, Fabrizio Rivera, and a hat tip to Alex Denning. Great job to get back to a top 10. And Tony Stack in P12, McManus, great drive up to P13. Nicky Meredith behind in P14. And congratulations to Ian Malone. He will take his first ever win in the Pro-Am category as he comes across the line to take that victory at Imola. Simon Wall on the podium in Pro-Am in P2. And it'll be Victor Cullen who takes that third in Pro-Am. They're just waiting for him to cross the line. Then Stuart Brereton and Brendan Stone, who will round out the top 5 in Pro-Am. But repeated itself almost exactly the same as last week, unbelievably. I didn't think we'd ever say that it'd be so, I don't want to say predictable, but exactly the same winners in exactly the same way, Kevin. This series is looking a bit intriguing, to say the least.
Oh, intriguing to say the least. Now, Naveed, as Bond said, Bond, a very poorly played Bond by Pierce Brosnan once said, I thought Christmas only comes once a year. But for Naveed, it's coming twice a year, twice in 2 weeks, to come from where he is back up to the top of the field and to win by almost 8 seconds. The man in the 007 car certainly has the Midas touch. But one of the comments on YouTube summed this race up for me, and that is that Keith is back. That dive down the inside of Neil Ferrier in the second Ravazzo, or the first Ravazzo, what a move by Keith Dempsey. I think we'd all love to see him challenging up the top of the leaderboard. And as well, of course, in the Welsh Motorsports car, James Holman, what a brilliant debut from him to come up 10 places to finish third. Some brilliant driving there. Dan Mould, of course, is a debutant in this series as well. He's up into second, so superb stuff. Delighted to see Neil Ferrier finished fifth, although Paul King had a great run as well. But Neil did a brilliant job, and a fantastic battle between those two. Just superb driving all up and down the grid. It's such a difficult track. We were saying how narrow it is, how difficult it is in places to get overtakes done cleanly, and yet these guys have shown how supremely they are, how supreme drivers they are. And what a pleasure it was to commentate on this series. I have to say, I was a big fan of the USF 2000 stuff, but the TCR racing, I just think it just blows it out of the water in terms of how close guys can run together. Naveed Hussain, it's going to be very hard to look past him for the rest of the series, given what he can do, particularly how good he is under braking. He just seems to be so able to be laid on the brakes and still carry that pace mid-corner and get a good exit. He just has these TCR cars down to a T. What a performance by him, especially returning to the series. But this, as you say, Jack, such an intriguing series as we head to Zolder for the next round.
Yeah, Zolder is certainly going to be an interesting one. That's a great track for TCRs, and it'll be the first time we've gone there as well in this series in iRacing down to Zolder. So really interesting. So we just roll through the results. We're just waiting for a couple of interviewees. We've got plenty this week. Had absolutely zero drivers come to talk to us last week. Now we have about 4 of them waiting in the wings. But we're going to get the proceedings underway with our feature race winner. And Naveed Hussain joins us in the commentary box. Naveed, first of all, great to have you back in the series. But 2 wins in the feature this last week and this week, both from kind of compromised positions on the grid. Just talk us through
it. Not the greatest race ones. Well, actually, race 1 last week was okay, but race 1 this week wasn't great, qualifying in particular. But yeah, I'm pretty good at launching the TCR, so I think that's helping me out a little bit. Coming through the field is a lot of fun. It's very narrow around here, so I'm delighted to come away with the win in that one. I was very lucky, to be fair.
Yeah, it certainly looked pretty clinical from yourself. Just you obviously seem to have those starts nailed down. So What's so difficult about getting these cars off the line? Is it just that? Is it the front wheel drive that causes the problems? Is it wheel spin? What's the secret to a good start in a TC? Revealing your own sort of course.
Well, yeah, the difficulty is weight transfer. So when you accelerate, the weight goes off the front, and you tend to get wheel spin. So it's just all about throttle modulation, how you apply the throttle. I have a kind of a knack to how to do it. I'll tell you after the series ends.
That's the right way to do it, Naveed. So yeah, no, it's a win in Donington, a win in Imola. We're going to Zolder next week. So you're obviously leading the championship now. You've opened that gap because Jason didn't have the greatest race too either. But confidence levels must be pretty high now.
Yeah, you can never be too confident. Obviously, there are some incredible drivers in this series, Jason included. It's going to be very hard to beat them. Just have to take it a race at a time. I kind of have to improve qualifying a little bit, and then we'll see how we go. I enjoy the next tracks coming up. I particularly like Charlotte, so hopefully we can get more of the same for the next few races.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to it. Naveed, thanks for hopping in with us. Just before we let you off, is there anyone we'd like to give a quick thank you to or a quick shout out to?
Yeah, everybody in my team, everybody racing tonight for my team, Ignium Motorsports, so Paul King, Dan Mould, and everybody back at Ignium. Obviously, the guys setting up the series, Niall and Rob and all those lads, and everybody racing tonight, and you guys, of course. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent stuff. So that was Naveed Saint joining us there. Kevin, next one's all yours. James Holman joins us on the line.
Thanks very much. And also, just before I chat to James, thanks to Naveed for holding up the whole flashing chat that we've had, because his driver's suit is something to be seen. I don't think it's quite safe for work. James Holman of Welsh Motorsports, you had Andrew, your team boss, in cheering you on over the course of the race. Up 10 places in this feature, up into third. A great battle with Keith Dempsey, the Ferrier, Paul King. You name it, you battled against him in the last few laps. That's just absolutely exhilarating stuff.
Oh, I'm sweating buckets. That was really good fun. Yeah, I knew I had a little bit more pace than the guys in front, and then I thought Keith was out of it, to be fair, because I see him get tagged at the beginning, and all of a sudden I see him pop up on the relative, and I thought, oh, geez, I better crack on here and try and get through. So yeah, perhaps I needed that boot up the rear a little bit earlier. I might have even got second if that happened. But no, it was really good fun, clean on the whole, clean racing. Everyone was very respectful and was really good fun. When wheel to wheel with Neil there, I don't know whether I've done the right thing going around the outside of that corner at the top of the hill there. But anyway, he gave me the line for the inside down to the Aqua Minerale. So I was I was happy once I got that move made. And when I saw Keith and Neil make a little bit of contact in the chicane, I knew I had the podium in the bag then, so I just sort of cruised around the last lap there. But yeah, no, thank you very much to Andrew Welsh and Welsh Media for their support, sponsoring me for this series. So thank you very much to them, and yeah, it's been a good day.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, you were just saying there about making that move at the top of the corner, at the top of the hill, going down to Dakar the Piratella. It is an interesting track and car combination, isn't it? To have, we had Donington Park, I suppose, which is much more of a staple for the TCR cars, but to see them go around Imola, which is such a tight track, and it's so, dependent on aero, must have been quite difficult in terms of trying to get to grips with that car and track combo.
Your car and the track is actually a really good combo, because it's not the quickest track. It's a lot of quick corners, but it's a really good track. You can really attack the track with all the curbs and everything like that. So I think the car track combo is very good. It's very difficult actually in terms of racing, because like I think I was about a good half second quicker than those guys in front, but all they had to do was put their car in the right place, and there was just no way through. I mean, there's no point doing any bumper runs or anything like that. So no, it was like that was the hardest bit really, was trying to sort of create the room to get through, if you like. Was sort of sending false dummies through and trying to make everyone sort of move out of position a little bit, and thankfully it seemed to work most of the time. So yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, I suppose, and James, just you were saying there just about some of the racing, and the standard was really exceptional. And obviously, look, we're not necessarily contractually obliged to say that either, because the fact that there's moves going on there, but it was really respectful. Given the fact that I suppose you're debuting in this series, what have your impressions of the iDMC series been thus far?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of stuff with iDMC or Digital Motorsport, what it was before. I just missed the last season there. I didn't fancy the USF, so I've done quite a bit of them in the official races beforehand. So I just thought I'd take a season off. Yeah, so I know pretty much 80% of the guys already. Certainly with my time with 10-3 and everything, I know all them guys very well. So yeah, so it's it's just what it is. I mean, from when I first started when it was back in VRA days, the standard of the racing has just gone up and up and up, and the sort of speed requirement you have to have and the consistency of the speed is something that you're talking on one of the top level leagues probably now, and in probably in the world. Really, I know there's still a level above what we are, from racing to a lot of the officials and things like that. But I think the standard of the racing here was just exceptional, and I really enjoyed that tonight.
Brilliant, James. Yeah, that's showing my ignorance. Apologies. Your debut with Welsh Media, obviously not in the ITFC itself. Is there anybody, I suppose, speaking of Welsh Media, Motorsports, and all that, is there anybody you do want to give a shout out to just before you head away?
Yeah, obviously, Welsh Media. I'd like to say hi to my family that are watching as well, and obviously thanks to everyone at Digital Motorsports for putting on a fantastic series for us, and obviously you guys for talking away and adding a bit of spice to it also. Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're making our job very easy with the kind of racing that was going on. James Holman, congratulations. Up 10 places into P3 for the feature. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Kevin.
So I'm joined now, unless Jack wants to jump in. Oh, Jack had a few technical issues, so I'm not sure if you're able to jump in, Jack, or not. But if you are, we're joined by Niall Maher.
Yeah.
Unless Niall, do you want
Neil Ferrer here as well?
Yeah, we do have Neil as well. So I was going to ask Niall, did you want to ask Neil a few questions instead of me doing it?
Yeah, I'd love to. And actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. Just we're going to bring in Keith Dempsey here as well, and just to spice things up a little bit. Jack has got some laptop issues. So first of all, to you, Neil, it's always cracking racing, and I'd say more so than anything, yourself and Keith there had some really great battles going on. You were focused on Neil for a second. You were holding him off at the front. You got to run, but did you pick up some damage going over the curbs, Neil, or talk us through it? Like you were kind of going well, and then all of a sudden you seem to be struggling a little bit with grip.
Yeah, no, that was I really enjoyed that, and I don't know what happened. I might have picked up a wee bit of damage over the curbs. I'm not sure. I'll have to look back, but nah. Compared to Donington, I can't really say much apart from going for a DNF in the second race at Donington to fighting with these boys. First time racing a TCR car properly. So to race against Keith, Pete, Dempsey, all these pro boys that have been doing it for a few years, man, it's really good, and it's and that it sounds a bit daft, but when I got that slow down, I was just trying to stay on the front of the leader there, and then Dan caught me, and I was like, right, okay. Me and Dan had a wee incident at Donington, so I was like, right, he's a wee bit faster than me, so I'll tag on the back of him. And then Keith came, and then James came as well. I was like, that's all the fast boys, but I got better. I started and just put my head down and just went for it.
You look like you're enjoying it out there anyway, and certainly like this track, it was in, it was out. It was like the hokey pokey at one stage when we were organising this TCR, but it seemed to just put on the right level of racing, and certainly from what we've seen out there, it was an enjoyable race for everybody.
No, I love Imola. It's a circuit that I really enjoy, and with these cars as well, you can abuse the curbs properly, which is good. Whereas in like other cars that race like the LMP2s and stuff around here, you have to stay away from the curbs. So to manage to get extend the track a wee bit more with using all the curbs. It makes it interesting, and what can I say? It's just what racing it is, and if you've not been watching, I want to know where you've all been.
Yeah, and certainly from what we've seen with this, Neil, is that you're always a fair racer, and it's always good racing. So we'll let you off if there's someone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go, and then we'll pass over to Keith Dempsey.
Yeah, I just want to get a quick shout out to my brother-in-law who sadly lost his granda at the weekend, and if he's never noticed on the top of my car for today and tonight only, I was running a tribute to young Jason who sadly lost his life at Magellan and MotoGP last week, the weekend just there. So, thoughts and prayers to all their families, and yeah, I'll see you for next week.
We'll show it there now. That's a really nice touch, and yeah, certainly we'll leave it on that, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Neil, take care. So over to Keith Dempsey. I don't know if Jack is back or Kevin is there, but just before we get to that, Keith, huge congratulations on the arrival of Megan, and hats off to you, buddy. You came out racing there amidst all of that, so just a tip of the hat and well done.
Thanks, Niall.
Yeah, look, are you jumping in, Niall, or do you want me to take Keith? Because I suppose
my
the
mic is
one
down
thing.
really low, so if you can take it.
Yeah, look, I'll leave you jump in while Niall adjusts his mic volume. Keith, you know, it seems like every time we were talking recently, we were saying about just slightly being off the pace, and it's kind of lamenting the fact that I suppose you haven't been kind of up the front running. Somebody said this evening on the YouTube comments, Keith is back. Do you feel like that after tonight's race?
I don't think it was really gone, but just get a little bit more pace this week. And yeah, first race qualifying was decent. My first lap, I done a good lap, but my second two, then I made a couple of mistakes, so I didn't get in probably the best I could have. But I still don't think I had enough for Jason in qualifying. And then the first race, I got a decent start, and then just kind of settled in behind Jason, and he's great to race with. Like, he doesn't make mistakes. He's always on the line, and he's always fair, even if you're side by side. He's one of the cleanest racers out there. So I knew once it was myself and Jason out the front that we'd be pretty smooth, and we can always have a good race between ourselves. But I didn't even get a chance to have a race with him because I just was kind of hanging on. I didn't really have. Two of us were very similar pace, and I had the advantage of the toe, but couldn't really make the most of the last lap. I probably got as close as I did, and then I got to slow down the chicane, so that kind of put an end to that plan. But no, I was happy with the results in race one and race two. It was a difficult race. I got a decent start, gained a position or two, and then I think I got someone else involved in someone else's kind of battle retaliation, and then I was on the outside, and someone came down the grass and hit the driver on the inside of me, and hit him, and then hit him into me. So I got pushed down to, I think, 21st or 22nd. I'm not sure where it was. It was well down anyway. Might have been even lower, but yeah, didn't. You have when this happens at the start of the races, and you kind of say, Jesus, so just pull into the pits here and park her up. But
hey, can I ask you, Keith? Because at that instant, I'm just wondering: is it? I think if I'm right in saying it's the Alex Denning and Brian McManus, and so one of the VRA cars was involved, and it was on the opening chicane. Is that the same incident? I'm just trying to recall my mind back.
No, it was Niall Murray and Josh Mallon. So Niall passed Josh into chicane, and then Josh came down the inside the next corner, and it was a late lunge and hit Niall and hit me. Niall hit me into, like, was out in the grass and stuff like that. But yeah, look, these things happen. But it's unfortunate, but it's not your incident for that to happen. But that's probably part of the TCR racing as well. At the same time, at least with these, you can have a bit of a bang, and you can get going again without too much damage. You don't think the car was 100%, but it was quick enough once I got going.
I can tell you it was quick enough when you were going into the first Ravazza taking Neil there, and I think that's probably one of the moves of the evening. And I suppose you were just, and it kind of does lead me on to that question, because you're somebody who's very kind of, I suppose, in real world familiar, and the Turn 3 guys and the Dempsey's familiar with that USF 2000 cars and those open wheel stuff, but those TCR cars really do lend themselves, I think, particularly with iRacing, where netcode can sometimes be an issue. They're just that little bit more forgiving, which means that guys can kind of go wheel to wheel a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely the car lends itself to much better racing and closer racing. You obviously don't have the downforce as well to affect things. And as you said, the net code is 100 times better in these cars. Like it's a bit of net code in these, it's not the end of the world really. Whereas in the USF, if you get net code, it's like the end of two people's races for no apparent reason. So definitely the saloon cars lend themselves to better racing for everyone really, I think, like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose just finally, Keith, I suppose as a man who, you know, you've been involved in a lot of TCR series down through the years, and we've had a couple of debutants involved. Dan now picking up second place. We've had Naveed return, and obviously again James Holman, who you were battling, who's returned back for this series, long time iDMC. It just seems like this series is attracting more and more people from outside that kind of typical iDMC VRA turn 3 sort of fraternity, and it seems to be attracting really, really quick guys coming into the series.
Yeah, it's great to see all these people coming back. Like people come in and go all gung ho and then kind of disappear for a season or two and then come back. So it's great to have the likes of James and Naveed and Dan and these other lads all coming in and are quick, and Neil there as well. Like, you know, it's great to have all these on board, and Jason as well, because Jason is he's probably the class of the field in the TCR, to be honest. Like he's just kind of the car he specialises in the most, I would say, in racing. So yeah, no, look, I dabble in and out of every sort of car in the game. I don't really have one car I drive all the time. I kind of just do whatever the Digital-Motorsports series in. I just drive that for that period. But starting to get to grips with this now. Just I think I was kind of overdriving it a little bit before and had to settle down a bit and found a bit of pace.
Yeah, we're really, really looking forward to both myself and Jack, and everyone watching is really looking forward to seeing now what you can do pushing on from here, and giving some of those guys, those recurrent turning guys, a run for their money. Keith Dempsey, second in the opening race, fourth place, up 10 places in the feature race. A great night for you. Congratulations and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, lads. Fair play.
So I don't know who the director of ceremonies is now. We've seemed to have too many cooks spoiling the broth. Niall, have you your microphone sorted? Do you want to chat to our Pro-Am race winner, Ian Malone?
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to talk to Simon Wall there, who came in second. I don't know if Victor Cullen has popped up, but we're just going to have a quick chat to Ian and Simon Wall together. Great battles. Ian, you took quite a convincing win there in the end in the feature race. Talk us through it.
To be honest, I had no idea I even won it, because I had no idea. It's very hard to tell where you are. You have to go by the names. So yeah, but I'm thrilled with that. Yeah, it's grand.
And of course, from the Pro-Am Championship now, that puts you right in the mix. How are you feeling going into the next round?
I'm not too good at the Nürburgring ring, but I don't know. We'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. As long as I get to race a few of the lads, you know, it's good crack. Simon's great crack there to race it, so it's grand.
Yeah, you seem to be having a good race. We'll drag in Simon now. Actually, we'll just see if he's available. Simon, we're just saying you were having a great race there with Ian Malone, and of course the championship now between Victor Cullen, yourself, and Ian is looking very tasty indeed. How are you feeling about going into the next round at the Nürburgring?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. Just starting to get to grips with the car a little bit better. Had serious technical difficulties for the whole race. My flashers were just flashing for the entire race, and I didn't realize it until
I'm glad we got that figured out, because there were people in the YouTube comments saying, "Who is this fella flashing the entire race?" They're just giving a rest.
No, it wasn't my race, and don't ever buy a button box on Wish. Buy it off Digital-Motorsports.
There you go, Simon. Good man. Well, look, we'll let Ian, if there's anyone you want to give a shout out to there, do so now, and we'll let you off.
Hi, yourselves in Digital-Motorsports. Thanks very much, and my wife for letting me do this while she minds.
Well, look, Ian, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Serious racing there, so good night. And Simon Wall, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we sign off on this epic night of racing?
Yeah, just to everyone at Digital-Motorsports and everyone that races every week. Like it's a great community. So thanks a million. I'm really enjoying it.
It's Charlotte Roval next, by the way, lads. So I'll be docking his points for that. Uh,
Yeah, I said you said Nurembergring and I said
know,
Zolder.
yeah,
We
just
seem to
testing
be
everyone on it.
convinced that it's staying in Europe. It's not like
Right,
we
well,
organise and
listen,
look after the series. Don't worry
that
about
has
it.
been a fantastic night. For those of you who've tuned in and been watching us on YouTube, thanks as ever. I say it every week to the racers, as long as the drivers turn up and they put in that level of racing, the team at Digital Motorsports are always going to try and up the game and keep bringing it and keep bringing it. We've got some really exciting news for coming so quick. I usually burst out and tell everyone, "But this is so good, I'm gonna have to hold back." But just let's put it this way: if you've ever fancied driving an F3 car, stay tuned, right? Um, as always, a huge thanks to Jack Canam. We never really at the end of the stream say just how much Jack and Kevin add to the stream. So a huge thanks to you guys. As always, to our sponsors and everybody that's there, thank you so much. But for everyone who stuck with us tonight, just in case you were wondering, we had a few technical issues tonight. The team rallied together, the Jack and Kevin and Ronan in the background and Sean and Rob, and just for myself, we've been doing this now for 2.5 years. We've never missed one. Tonight was really down to the wire. So thank you so much, guys, for sticking with us and making the stream happen tonight. And for everyone who's tuned in, put the comments in and stuck with us. Please do join us next week. We've got some really, you won't believe it, news coming our way. So I will hand over to the very capable Kevin Galvin to sign off this stream for tonight. Over to you, Kevin.
Thanks very much, Niall. I'm blushing after that, and I'm sure Jack is as well once he finishes destroying his laptop, which seemed to go in the blink again. Look, we were both wrong as to where we're going next. We'll have to rebook the flights, get the whole refunds, because we are off stateside to Charlotte Roval. The Coke 600 was there not so long ago, but this time we're on the Roval course to see what these TCR cars can do. And given the fact that Naveed Hussain has just said that that's where he likes best, given the fact that he's come up 11 places and won at Imola by 8 seconds, I fear for the rest of the grid. But a brilliant racing, a load of different winners in all the different categories, sees both the Pro and the Pro-Am category blown wide open. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, if you are enjoying this and if you're watching back as well, you can click that like button and just give us a thumbs up as well. Just make sure that it's across your feed and across other people's feeds, you know, the old YouTube algorithm and all that. But from Imola, from another brilliant night's racing, thanks again to Niall Maher, thanks to all the guys at Digital Motorsport for their organising. Digitalmotorsports.com is the place for that, including button boxes that won't jam and make you flash for the night. Thanks to Jack and thanks to Niall, but for myself, Cuivan O'Galvan, it's not good.
They say that perfection doesn't exist in this game. Most players just don't have it in them. But those who dare to seek it might catch excellence. And that sounds perfect to me. So, I'm done playing. Let's drive.